My name is Tyler Henderson. I'm a member of Occupy Mobile and the Occupy movement in general, and I am one of the 99%.
My name is Nick Brattoli. Same stuff he just said.
Yes, I do actually. I have a 40-hour-a-week job that I go to 5 days a week.
I do as well. I work in the healthcare industry in the tech field, also 40 plus hours a week. Yeah.
Well, being that the Occupy protesters are, in my eyes, a pretty nice cross-section of society, I'd say that, yeah, quite a few of them are employed. Some of them are not employed, but most of the people that we have out are. But I don't think that the issue necessarily should be focused on whether or not the protesters are employed or not, or homeless or not. I think the issues are a little bigger than that.
No, neither of us are homeless. Most of the protesters are not homeless. However, a few of them are, because we have reached out to the homeless community to try to help them.
Yeah, whether or not you're homeless or in a home does not make you any less of a citizen. I can't speak for all of the Occupy Mobile or Occupy in general protesters. I personally did, I guess, adhere to a particular party at one point, but as I got more and more involved in the Occupy movement and began to learn more and do more research and wake up, so to speak, I have negated any affiliation I have with any political party, because it's a circus.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I used to belong to a party back, I don't know, when I was 18 or 19, when I didn't really know what the deal was. I have no allegiance to any party. I think it's just a big dog and pony show.
I've been loosely following. All right, I guess I need to get to move back a little more. Really, I've always had a skeptical mind, a skeptical nature. I've always questioned things, and a lot of friends of mine in the past have always been what's known as a conspiracy theorist or whatnot, and I always sort of scoffed and blew them off and whatnot. But once this Occupy movement started becoming more and more public and widespread, I started to look into it more and do research. And then I saw on Facebook an invite to a protest here in Mobile, and decided to go to it, and was just hooked. I mean, I spent most of my time before just reading and playing video games. Now I've got something to fight for, a cause.
I have actually tried to keep up on current events for a pretty long time. Being a tech guy, I do read a lot on the internet a lot. I started following the Egyptian stuff, even back when they were doing the elections in Iran, when they were protesting about that and using Twitter to kind of show the world the stuff that the media doesn't show. So I'm all about raw, unedited footage. And you start to see all of this and what people are experiencing, and it's nothing like what they're showing on TV. So I've always tried to do everything that I can to spread those articles, show those live streams to people. And then this came around, I started following it from New York, and then he told me about the one that started here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And of course, both of us have been there since.
Well, as it should be well known, the Occupy movement is an apolitical movement. It is not a liberal movement. It is not a conservative movement. Not Democrat versus Republican. None of that. Ron Paul supporters are just as welcome as as Obama supporters are just as welcome as George Bush supporters, so on and so forth, as long as you understand that this movement isn't about to be co-opted by a political force. It isn't about getting so and so elected. It's an apolitical movement. Only online with people that don't actually come out to see what we're all about. The people online seem to think that this is a liberal versus conservative deal, whenever it is not. We actually have had conservatives, even Tea Party members, come to our protests, and we've talked to them, and they pretty much agree with what we have to say, because it's a broad spectrum. It's not just focused on one particular group. It affects everybody.
Right. We all have different ways we think it should be fixed, but everyone needs to know the problem first. And I think our group agrees on that. It doesn't really ever come up. It's not, what do you support? How do you think we should do this? No one asks. It's, hey, let's all join together to try to solve this problem first, and we'll cross those other bridges as we come to them. You want me to feel this? It's both. There aren't a whole lot of radicals. There are a few. Now, what Mobile thinks are radicals and what the rest of the world says is a radical are two very different things. But no, I'd say it's mostly just regular citizens. It's, they think college students tend to be radicals, but it's college students going for fairly common jobs that they're looking into. It's people of all ages, once again. So there's a range of different types of people there.
Yeah, we do have a wide range of different political beliefs in our group, some of which would be considered radical by the mainstream media. But I'd like to point out how public perception sort of feeds into what the word radical means. What do most people think of when they hear the word anarchist? They think Molotov cocktails, breaking windows, no government, chaos, decay, destruction. That's not what it means. I'm not an anarchist. It's not my particular political philosophy, but it is a political philosophy, which just means to have a hierarchy-free society, nonviolent. It's legit stuff. I urge that people look into what they consider to be radical political movements to figure out what they really are. It formed sort of spontaneously as a result of the Occupy movement spreading. There were Occupy movements in some of the larger cities in Alabama. Mobile was just naturally next to spring up, I think.
It was one guy. One guy was basically like, you know what? Why not? Why not Mobile? Mobile has a bunch of local issues we need to take care of. Why not? So he throws up an event. Quite a few people showed up, and then we've just been meeting since then. And you're asking how it's been growing. Well, it helped when we had that Occupy for a couple days. The actual occupation, we were actually able to talk to more and more people. But we do have an internet presence, and we have become more and more organized as time goes by. We're broken up into various teams, every team doing different things. So it's evolved quite a bit since we first started.
And it's still evolving to become more efficient and more effective overall. Well, anyone that wants to come to a General Assembly is invited to come to this General Assembly and have their voice heard. What we do is we pass around something known as the stack, which is a piece of paper that everyone writes in a category, whether it be action item, discussion item, things like that, something that they want to bring up during the General Assembly. Then we will go down the stack in order, calling out these things, discussing them, voting on them, whatever. Everyone gets their vote in. We vote on a consensus basis, which means that things are only passed if there is a consensus through the group.
We have a series of hand signals just like all of the other Occupy groups do. We streamlined ours a little bit. But but we use those hand signals to say, hey, I want to talk, or hey, this is irrelevant, just to stop us from going in circles for hours. Because you put any group of people in there, that's possible. So we do what we can to stop that, to keep on task with things. And when the stack's through, we ask if anyone has anything else they want to bring up, and adjourn the meeting.
Mm-hmm. It's semi-formal, I'd say. It isn't as rigid as a courtroom deliberation or a Congress deliberation, but it's definitely not as casual as 36 people screaming at each other. It does have some semblance of order and coordination.
There is not a single list. Everyone has their own reasons for being there, and the problem that we want to fight, it has a lot of different symptoms. There's a lot of different heads to cut off. So we basically organize into groups. We're like, you take this issue, you take this issue, or if we need to concentrate more people on it, we're doing that. As far as the list we do, we agree with the New York City Declaration. Maybe not the 99%. That one was written by one guy. But the New York City Declaration is pretty much what got us there in the first place.
It's voted on by consensus,
right?
And as far as a list of demands, the media and the public are trained to want one thing from a group. Say there are people protesting after a BP oil spill. They ask, "What do you guys want?" They say, "For BP to fix the problem." This is a completely different kind of protest. This borders on something that hasn't been seen in America in a very long time. Imagine if you've ever gotten so frustrated with something, so constantly beat down by something that you just, that's what this is. This is America's primal outcry of frustration, of we know what's going on and we've had enough of it, and we're going to let you know that we know what's going on, and until something changes, or who knows.
Right. And a funny thing, you bring up the BP spill. The BP spill is one of the things we are very much against. They're sticking the taxpayer with the bill for that now. They pretty much stopped paying people off. And they're not only that, they're threatening people who come after them with claims of health problems that they're having because of this. And I don't know about the whole group, but I say a good chunk of the group is very mad about that. And there are a lot of local issues here in Mobile that we can change. By we, I mean everybody, that we can change rather than just sit and watch TV. Just because we're part of a worldwide movement doesn't mean we can't do anything locally. In fact, that's the way to get things done. You need to start locally. So yeah, there's a lot of different causes we're taking up, and we can't just say there's one thing that we want to stop. We want to feed the homeless. We don't want people to get kicked out of their homes. We don't want our oceans filled with oil.
Yeah, we don't want our politicians voting for the highest bidder.
They're pretty straightforward demands. I think most people would think that, yeah, I don't like my tax money to be paid for a bunch of dudes to go on vacation after they lay off half their workforce. I would imagine most of the hardworking Americans you hear about on TV, those are the people who are getting the raw end of the deal. So, I mean, I think they probably have their own list of demands as well.
Well, there's been some deliberation on this. This is a long way away, though. This is, what is it, March of next year?
I believe so, and that's where they were going to start doing that.
Yeah. This is really a plan in its infancy. We'll have to see where it goes before we can decide whether we're going to send a delegation to it or not.
But we are aware of how the process works. We're aware when it's happening, and we are in contact with other Occupy groups.
Yes, actually, we've been contacted by various members of various Occupy movements. We are in regular correspondence with a gentleman named Henry from New York who runs wearetheother99%.com, WTO.com, WTO 99. We are in contact with most of the occupations in the southeastern region. I personally have visited Occupy Atlanta, Pensacola, New Orleans.
We've been in contact with Madison, Wisconsin, Santa Cruz. Let's see, pretty much all of the Alabama ones, like you said. We actually share our webpage with all of the other Alabama ones, Birmingham and whatnot. Fairhope, and like you said, Pensacola, well, they're pretty much our sister city. We help each other back and forth a lot.
We work very closely with Occupy Pensacola and Occupy Fairhope. We've had people from all over the country travel through and stop by at our sites. Some of them stay for a little while, some of them stay for a longer length of time. We actually had a gentleman from Michigan who was just traveling through town, stopped by at our occupation and decided to stay with us. And he was with us for about a week. He took part in setting up the actual camp, some of our community outreach activities. He was actually one of the 20 people that was arrested at Memorial Park. We've had, as far as anyone coming to train us, we haven't had anyone, and I don't think anyone is actually going around specifically marketing training techniques.
What we have been doing, like we were saying, we are in heavy contact with Pensacola. Now, they have sent delegates our way, we have sent delegates their way to go over. They see how we do things and how they do things. Now, specific training, no, we don't sit there and break into sessions, but the groups do watch each other's live streams and they see what each group is doing so that we can pick and choose what works for us.
We occupied Spanish Plaza. We permanently occupied Spanish Plaza. We set up our tents, our library, our Food Not Bombs Center, and we're occupying Spanish Plaza. We learned that there was a Veterans Day parade and other activities that were going to be taking place in Spanish Plaza, exactly where we were camped up at. After a very long GA, we decided as a group by consensus to vacate Spanish Plaza for the veterans, for the Veterans Day activities, because, and this is another common misconception that a lot of people have, we are Americans, we do honor our troops for doing what they do. So we went that night to Memorial Park, which is in Midtown. Some of our brothers and sisters from Pensacola came to visit with us and sort of discuss what our options would be because, and I forgot to add this earlier, we were asked to be out of Spanish Plaza for the Veterans Day activities Wednesday morning. They came in Tuesday before noon and began the evictions. So some people from Pensacola came and we were discussing it. We were sort of having a GA at Memorial Park. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning or so, and all of a sudden, all sides surrounded by police, flashing lights, paddy wagons. You know, they were there in force. They had all of Memorial Plaza surrounded. We have discussed contingency plans in prior GAs as to what would happen if we were encountered with the police. What those plans culminated in is that those who were not willing to be arrested, did not, could not, would not be arrested, to leave and document everything. Those who were willing to stay and were willing to stand and were willing to say, this is a public park, we're assembling peacefully, why should we leave? Stayed. And we peacefully resisted. There was no violence on the part of the protesters. And we were all torn apart from each other. A few of our members were injured. A few of our members were injured, and 20 of us were arrested, taken to Mobile Metro Jail, and locked up for the night. Well, one of our members was quite clearly, as you can see on the video, dragged down the steps at Memorial Plaza.
While handcuffed.
While handcuffed. Mind you, this was but one of the things like that happened that night. It was just the one most clearly seen on the video. He suffered head injuries. He had a huge abrasion across his back. He had contusions on his ribs. All of this comes from his doctor who examined him and gave a report. Mind you, all the while he was handcuffed and arrested already. I'm not going to give his name out because, you know, he asked us not to. Nor will I give out the name of the officer that did that. A, because I don't know personally, and B, because, well, I guess there is no B.
It's an ongoing thing anyway.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. As far as legal action is concerned, the National Lawyers Guild is actively helping us with all of our legal issues. Whether or not this individual is going to file a personal complaint against this officer is still unknown. I'd say that it was about 3/5, 2/5, 3/5 ours and 2/5 theirs.
It's like Pensacola, Mobile.
Yeah, between Pensacola and Mobile. One of the people arrested was the guy from Michigan that had stayed to set up with us. Another one has his address in Cocoa Beach, Florida, but lives in Saraland. Let's see. As far as legal status is concerned, there was a court date that was held today for about half of us. The rest of us have a court date set in December, about mid-December. And we're going to or at least I personally am going to plead not guilty, because I don't think I was guilty of any sort of crime in doing this. And but I will follow any legal advice that I'm given by our legal team.
That one, that's a pretty tough one. We are constantly talking to the city. We want the city to work with us. We want to work with the city. We want everyone to be on the same team. We are all on the same team. The city of Mobile is not they are not the 1% of people running the world. The police are not in that group. We want the police to be on our side. So yeah, we do want the city to be happy, but at the same time, we want to exercise our First Amendment rights. So we have to. That's what this is all about. That is, I'd say that is first and foremost what has to happen.
We will exercise our First Amendment rights. I mean, it's very clearly stated that Congress shall make no law restricting the right to assemble or the right to air grievances, and that's what we were doing. That's what will continue to do. It is unconstitutional and illegal to arrest people for exercising their rights. We've seen it happen before during the civil rights movement, and we've seen what happened as a result of that. We will be out there, you know. We will not be stifled, quite simply.
You see, around the world, they're trying to stifle the Occupy movement. They're coordinating across different cities and just sending in riot cops with tear gas and flashbangs and just beating the crap out of these people who all they want to do is say, hey, you know, it's all of our money that's making you rich. So why you know, why are you treating us like this?
They've called counterterrorism police in. They've called Homeland Security in. Let me ask you this, people that decry the movement so much. How much does it cost to call out Homeland Security to put down a peaceful protest? Any guess? Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands? That's money that is not paid by a private bank, which they are laughing in their penthouses about right now, that they're not having to pay that money. We have to pay that money. We're paying to arrest our own citizens for exercising our rights. And who benefits from it?
Not us.
Not us. Well, that's the inherent definition of protest, is it not?
I mean, personally, I don't protest for the sake of protesting. I'm not going to be like, yeah, fluffy dogs are bad just because I can. I'm protesting not for the sake of protesting. I'm protesting because of what I believe in, and I don't think we're doing it just to stick it to the man. We're doing this because we want the world to be a better place.
One of this country's keystone achievements in its own rise from oppression into a sovereign country was a marked example of civil disobedience. The Boston Tea Party. Does anyone, I'm sure everybody knows what that is. That wasn't condoned by the authorities at the time, but look what happened because of it.
Not only that, it's the same deal. It's still no taxation without representation. Our representatives are not representing us.
That's right.
They are using our tax money for things they should not be using it for. It is the same stuff that people were complaining about before and have always been complaining about. This is not something new.
No. The city they've extended an offer, which is essentially an offer that we can't refuse if we want to help out with the city anymore, and it includes taking an area offered by the city that is both out of the way and dangerous. Our consensus as of right now is to say no to that offer. We'd like an alternative. We will also search out our own alternatives and either try to get them independently or work with you to get them, because like we're trying to say, the city government is not necessarily our enemy. They are part of the 99% as well. But
I'd say we're frenemies at best, if everyone knows what that means. We have some push and pull, but I do think the city would like to make us happy, or at least not have to deal with us. So I think there's somewhere in the middle. I don't think there's directly against us, but they can't just come out and be like, we're for you, because they have to try to make everyone happy. We talk to people in the city. I don't know what their stance is. They won't come out and say their stance.
No,
they talk to us.
I don't think, or at least in my knowledge, I don't think that any city official has personally spoken to any of us.
Yeah, like over the phone, or we've tried to go into city council meetings and things like that. But yeah, they're not really going out of their way to talk to us.
No one is antagonistic, but but it's like there seems to be a convenient, steady stream of obstacles. Well, Representative Joe Bonner is late sending us our checks because, according to him, we are paid protesters.
Yes.
And I have yet to see a dime of that. So, Joe Bonner, if you're watching, come on, man, where's it at?
Yeah. And like we were just saying, we've been in contact with the city council, and we would like to be more in contact with them. That's not exactly what they want. But yeah, we are not just sitting in a park and saying, give us stuff. We are doing other things. The occupation is for having a headquarters so people can come talk to us. We are actually going out into the communities. We want to take every channel that we have. So that includes talking to government officials. That includes going out and doing things on our own. It includes reaching out just to other communities. I think that's probably one of the more important parts is the community building. So yeah, we're going to go down every alley we can.